Inventory management in SAP MM is the heart of your supply chain. It records every movement of materials, keeps stock levels accurate, and feeds real-time data into finance and planning. Without a rock-solid inventory process, you risk production delays, stock shortages, overstocks, and financial discrepancies. In this video, you'll learn the role and scope of inventory management in SAP MM, how to perform goods receipt, GR, and why every GR must be precise, how to execute goods issue, GI for production, sales, and sampling, what transfer postings are and when to use them, plant transfers, storage location changes, special stock, integration points with financial accounting, FI, and warehouse management, WM, best practices, common pitfalls, and real-world examples. Whether you're a beginner or already running SAP MM, by the end of this session, you'll confidently handle every material movement transaction and avoid the most frequent mistakes. Let's dive in. Section 1. Overview of Inventory Management in SAP MM SAP MMs. Inventory Management component tracks all inbound and outbound movements of materials at the plant and storage location level. It ensures that the system always knows what material moved, when it moved, where it moved, why it moved, how much value it carried. Key objectives: 1. Accurate stock levels. Real-time visibility into available, reserved, and blocked stock. 2. Valuation integrity. Each movement posts to FI, updating inventory GL accounts. 3. Process control. Transactions follow standardized movement types and postings. 4. Audit trail. Complete history of who posted what, when, and why. Main transaction codes. MIGO, goods movement. Unified transaction for GR, GI transfer postings. MB1A/MB1B/MB1C. Legacy movement transactions, still used in some projects. MB5B, MB52. Stock reports movement types. SAP defines movement types to categorize every stock movement. 101, GR against PO. 102, GR reversal. 201, GI to cost center. 261, GI to production order. 301, transfer posting plant to plant. 311, transfer posting storage location to storage location. 551, consignment issue. Each movement type triggers specific account and stock updates, so choosing the correct type is crucial. Section 2, goods receipt, GR. Concepts and process. Goods receipt is the process of recording the receipt of materials into stock. It can be triggered by purchase order, PO, production order, stock transfer. Goods issue reversal, 0.1 GR against PO, MIGO 101. 1. Enter MIGO, select goods receipt and purchase order. 2. Specify PO number. System fetches line items. 3. Check delivery quantity and storage location. 4.01 updates stock and creates FI entry credit GR/IR debit inventory posting. In FI debit inventory GL account credit. GR/IR clearing account. 2.2 GR against production order. Similar steps, but select order and choose production order. Movement type 101 post to production stock. 2.3 grams of initial stock. MB1C-561. For initial loading of stock when system goes live. Movement type. 561 sets opening balances. 2.4 key tips for accurate GR. Always verify quantity and batch if applicable. Use goods receipt, slip or barcode scanning to minimize manual errors. Check inspection lots and QM integration before posting unrestricted use. Section 3. Goods issue, GI. Concepts and process. Goods issue is the process of removing materials from inventory for consumption, whether for production, sales, sampling, or scrapping. Proper GI postings ensure accurate stock levels and correct cost allocation. 3.1 Types of Goods Issue 1. GI for production, MIGO-2, 01 or 261, asterisk 201. Issue to cost center. 261. Issue to production order. 2. GI for sales. VL02, N/VL10B. Processed via the Sales and Distribution module. Updates inventory and triggers goods. Issue posting 3. GI for sampling, MIGO-2, 01. Samples taken for quality checks non-value stock 4. GI for scrapping, MIGO. 551 star removes damaged or obsolete stock permanently 3.2. Posting a GI and MIGO1. Enter MIGO, choose goods. Issue 2. Select movement type EG2. 01261 551. 3. Enter reference document, production order, sales order, etc. 4. Specify quantity and storage location. 5. Post update stock post to FI and CO posting. In FI Co. Debit, cost center or production order. Credit, inventory GL account. 3.3 Common GI scenarios. Production withdrawal, raw material issue to production orders. Intercompany GI, movement between company codes requires additional configuration. Project issue GI to internal orders or WBS elements. PS integration. 3.4 Tips for error-free. GI, validate batch and serial numbers if used. Use RF scanners to reduce manual input errors. Always check available stock before posting. Section 4. Transfer postings. Concepts and process. Transfer postings allow you to change the stock's status or location without a purchase or issue reception scenario. They include plant-to-plant transfers, storage location changes, and special stock postings. 4.1 Movement types for transfer postings. 301. Plant-to-plant in same company code. 303. Plant-to-plant in different company code. 3011. Storage location to storage location. 3021. Transfer posting from blocked stock to unrestricted stock. 551. Consignment issue, also treated as special stock. 4.2. Plant-to-plant transfer, MIGO 301/303. 1. Enter MIGO, select transfer posting. 2. Choose movement type 301 or 3033. Enter material, quantity, from plant to plant 4. Post, stock is removed from one plant and added to another. FI entry only if across company codes 4.3 storage location. Change MIGO 311. Moves stock within same plant. No FI posting, purely logistic. Example, move 100 units from storage location, 1,000 to 2,000 transfer. Consignment, project stock. Consignment. Movement from vendor consignment to unrestricted stock. Movement type 411. Project stock. Stock tied to a project. Move to unrestricted use once authorized 4.5 transfer posting reversal. Use reversal movement types 321, 322, 351, etc. Always check reversal rules to avoid misposting. 4.6 Best practices for transfer postings. Standardize movement type usage with clear documentation. Train users on key fields, plant, storage location, special stock indicators. Monitor open stock transfers via report MB5T to clear pending transfers. Section 5. Integration points with FI and WM inventory movements in SAP MM don't just affect stock, they also update financial and warehouse systems. Understanding these integration points ensures end-to-end process integrity. 5.1 FI integration. Every goods movement in posts to financial accounting FI automatically, keeping inventory valuation and general ledger in sync. Goods receipt, GR, debit, inventory account, credit, GR/IR clearing account. When the invoice posts later, MIRO, the GR/IR account clears. Goods issue, GI. Debit, cost center, production order, or sales cost account. Credit, inventory account. Transfer postings. Plant to plant within same company code, 301. No FI entries. Cross-company code transfers, 303. Posts intercompany clearing entries. Key tips. Reconcile GR/IR. Clearing account monthly to avoid discrepancies. Coordinate with FI teams during period end, close to adjust any blocked or erroneous entries. 5.2. WM integration. If you use SAP Warehouse Management, WM, movements trigger WM tasks and updates. Goods receipt to WM. MIGO with movement. Type 101 creates a WM transfer order to put away stock. WM confirms the transfer order when goods are physically placed, updating WM stock. Goods issue from WM. GI movement triggers a pick transfer order in WM to remove stock. Confirmation posts from WM back to MM to update unrestricted stock. Transfer posting in WM. Storage location changes within WM. Use movement types 311, generating WM tasks. Key tips. Ensure WM integration indicator is set in Material Master for relevant materials. Coordinate monthly cycle counts in WM to verify MM and WM stock consistency. Section 6. Best practices and common pitfalls. Proper configuration and disciplined execution prevent many inventory headaches. 6.1. Best practices 1. Standardize movement types. Define clear guidelines. Use 101 only for PO receipts, 201 for cost center issues, etc. Document in your process playbook. 2. Use batch and serial number control when needed. Activate batch management in Material Master if traceability is required. Pharma, food. For serialized high-value items, enable serial number tracking. 3. Implement barcode or RFID scanning. Reduces manual entry errors dramatically. Integrates with MIGO through mobile data entry. 4th. Schedule regular stock reconciliations. Cycle counts versus full physical inventory. Reconcile discrepancies between MM and WM monthly. 5. Automate notifications and alerts. Low stock alerts through MRP. GR/IR clearing account threshold alerts in FI. 6. Train and certify end users. Role-based training for warehouse, procurement, and finance teams. Hands-on workshops in sandbox environments. 6.2 Common Pitfalls 1. Using wrong movement type *, e.g. posting a GI with 201 instead of 261 leads to misallocated costs. Fix restrict movement types via authorization profiles. 2. Posting without availability. Check. Can lead to negative stock or reservation failures. Fix. Enforce availability check in MIGO configuration. 3. Ignoring reversal procedures. Users seldom reverse MIGO correctly, causing ghost stock. Fix. Train on reversal movement types. 102, 202, 321. 4. Not clearing. GR/IR*. Accumulating balances distort financial statements. Fix. Run reconciliation reports, MB5S, and clear regularly. 5. Overlooking storage location indicators. Posting to inactive or blocked locations. Fix. Maintain active location lists and enforce checks. Section 7. Real-world examples and use cases. Bringing concepts to life through scenarios. Example A. High-volume manufacturing plant. Scenario. Daily receipt of raw materials via PO. Challenge. 10,000 plus line items daily. Manual errors cause stock mismatches. Solution: implement barcode scanning and movement type enforcement. Outcome: 95% reduction in discrepancy rate. Real-time inventory updated in FI. Example B: pharmaceutical company with batch control. Scenario: strict traceability for expiry and recall. Challenge: manual batch input led to mixed batches and potential compliance risk. Solution: enable batch management in Material Master, integrate WM scanning. Outcome: full traceability, faster recalls, audit-ready reporting. Example C: interplant transfer between company codes. Scenario: transfer of semi-finished goods from Plant A, Company 1000, to Plant B, Company 2000. Process: movement type 3, O3 triggers, intercompany invoice. Pitfall: incorrect config caused missing FI postings. Fix: corrected account assignments and config in OBYC. Outcome: seamless stock movement and accurate intercompany billing. Conclusion and call to action inventory management in SAP MM is much more than clicking buttons. It's about mapping business processes, enforcing controls, and integrating with finance and warehousing to deliver real-time, reliable material data. Key takeaways: goods receipt, goods issue, and transfer postings are your core tools. Every movement must use the correct movement type. Integration with FI and WM ensures financial accuracy and efficient warehousing. Best practices and periodic audits prevent costly errors. Real-world cases show tangible ROI from disciplined inventory management. Ready to master SAP MM Inventory Management? Download our exclusive SAP Consultant Guide, Beginner to Pro, https://kayaabdullah.gumroad.com while Quapuyuarm subscribe, and explore the full SAP MM playlist for deeper dives into each subtopic. Comment below your biggest inventory challenge. We'll cover it next.